Right. Right. Because there was three on the committee, but I couldn't meet. So I couldn't meet with any. I couldn't meet with four council people at the same time, but I could meet with three council people as long as they didn't have a conflict of interest on the committee. So I could take a chair of each committee, 3 chairs of each committee, and sit down. So I think you can take. Right now we got. Also, you know, that's why we depend on. But I think if I operate the same as a couple by legislative. I know it's something. I don't know. It rained really hard. Like, as soon as I got to the stairs. All right, we're good. We're ready to start then. Right? I think that Kyle is on his way, but he's going to join us. But we started off. I did want to just inform the board that our work continues and your work continuing. Today was really a great day where we announced the health lab in the state of Rhode Island with a public-private partnership. We're initially with Brown University, and it's about a $170 million project that's going to be done on the 5195 land. Congressional leadership there, along with and others, but Hillary Pagan really did a great job on that, Hillary. So I want to recognize you and encourage, you know, Liz continuing the work that along with Stefan and Hannah really developed there. And working with the speaker on that project, it was not known where we were going to put the project, but we knew we were going to do it. But then, and we were going to use surplus dollars to get it off the ground because we needed a health lab. But the location really worked really well. And then the federal funding from the CDC worked even better, right? So about $81 million of federal money from CDC that came in through the work of Commerce as well as our health department, and Jim Dawson was a champion as well to bring that into the space right now. And so it's going to bring construction works together, and then after that, you can in a way that we've never had before on life science. And my understanding is there's more to follow there from University. But yeah, I just wanted to, you know, mention that because I think that's another, and I mentioned at my comments, this is an overall plan for the state of Rhode Island. I want everybody to really understand what we're doing here by investing there in the life science there, but also putting the lights on and doing the project again, doing the project down in Galilee for the fisheries, right? Doing the seaport in East Providence, along with Quonset, opening up an education center that was in the mix before I got here up in Woonsocket. This is all a plan to invest in these projects in a way where we keep the developers honest in terms of what they give us, and they keep their promises. But this is really a moment for us, and I want to just say that the board that's either sitting and has been here in the past, they should feel as though that they have really set the stage, and we're going to continue to work together to make that happen. So that's what I would say, and I'll call the first item. Now that Kyle's here, I can call the first item on the agenda to approve the minutes from the October 5th, 2022. Well, you're gonna have to do an efficiency now. What do you call it? Like, what do you call it? You're gonna help me. You're gonna help me at a DHS. You're coming down to help me at DHS. Yes, the lean event. We're gonna have a lean event. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of October 5th, and I'll take a second. Any discussion? Any amendments? Hearing none. All in favor say yes. Aye. And any opposed? Hearing none. The minutes have been approved. We'll go to tab 2. Consider allocations under the Small Business Assistant Program. And I think, Doris, you're going to, or what? Are you going to start off with this, Hillary?
I'm just going to
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doris is going to run through a couple of slides on the Small Business Assistance Program, similar to what we did last meeting with the innovation vouchers, to give you just an overview of what's going on since inception. Quick reminder, this is credit from additional lenders. It has a focus on
Thank you, Philip. Good afternoon, Governor McKee, Secretary of Commerce, Liz Tanner, and members of the board. I am Doris Blanchard. I am the Director of the Small Business Programs, and I am here to provide you an overview and where the Small Business Assistance Program is at, and also for your consideration and recommendation of the program for the funding allocation request. So I'm going to start with a few slides. So the Small Business Assistance Program, as Hillary stated, helps entrepreneurs and small business that are having difficulty obtaining adequate credits from traditional lending organizations. The program focuses on women and minority-owned enterprises, as well as businesses that are located in Rhode Island underserved communities. Next slide, please. The program, since inception in 2017, has closed 209 loans, and under different sectors like manufacturing, construction, childcare, retail, wholesale, agriculture businesses in Rhode Island. As of 9/30, we have 43 pending loans. They are in the pipeline, whether they are approved or they are in process to being approved. The total disbursement of these funds have been $5.8 million, leveraging 27.5. As of today, we have 46 loans that have been paid in full. So those are great news. Also, we have received, or the lenders have received 2.1 million in repayments. 52.5 of these businesses are WBEs, which is Women Business Enterprise or Minority Business Enterprise, and the total allocation for this program is $6.5 million. And the program has created new 387 jobs. Next slide. So you can see, the Small Business Assistance Program has been very active in different locations, covering most of our 39 cities and towns in Rhode Island. Next slide, please. As you can see, the distribution, this looks a very well-diverse portfolio in different sectors. Retail, service, and that includes the construction is included in this sector. Manufacturing, agriculture, and the food sector as well, among technology. Next slide, please. I just wanted to share with you some of our case to provide you and to let you know about how well this program and how successful this program. This is one of our first loans in the program. It's the Family Cake. Juan Lantigua is the owner of Family Cake, and he joined Hope in Maine. As you know, it's a food incubator in Warren. And he produces baking goods, and also now he sells as wholesale in Rhode Island. He and his wife, Wendy, began baking goods at Hope in Maine in the incubator, and by 2017, the Family Cake had outgrown in Hope in Maine, and he received a loan from CIC, and technical assistance from SBDC, one of our business partners. Also, Juan was able to move from Hope in Maine and had a location in Providence selling his baked goods, including bread pudding, tres leches, rice pudding, to customers in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. The new facility opened in August of 2018, and by mid-2019, Juan decided to leave his job to dedicate his 100% time to the company. From 2017 to 2019, the family cake realized 553% gross revenue, and he expects we just got the news that expected his sales to reach $1.9 million at the end of this year. He also received the SBA, the Rhode Island and New England Minority and Small Business of the Year award. Next slide. This is another spotlight that I wanted to share with you is the night vision technology. They design and build electro-optical infrared camera systems for military and operated surface vessels in vehicles, search and rescue. They also design cameras to support the offshore wind industry, including the new marine mammal surveillance systems. Amidst the COVID-19 crisis, founder and CEO Joe Jameson was able to acquire an SBA loan from the business development company, BDCRI, to help him to cover for payroll expenses during these difficult times. Also, he was an awardee of the 2020 New England Exporter of the Year. NBTS is a beacon and model for fellow small business owners interested in entering the exporting arena. His company also has received support from the Chafee Center and the U.S. Commercial Service through the STEP grants, the webinars built in virtual introductions. So he is doing very well. The next slide, please. And this is our last spotlight that I selected for you is the Inner You Consulting Service in Warwick, owned by Kerry Mowbray and Madeline Lefort. They established in 2013 as an LLC in Rhode Island. And since the founding, the business has grown to 6 locations, providing counseling and mental health services to over 650 clients every week. The Inner You purchased their first building in 2015 in Warwick, and then they got a loan from Seed and Greenwood Credit Union in 2020 to purchase their second building. And also a year later, they bought the third building, and they opened a new location in Cranston. Also, the financing was provided by Seed and Greenwood Credit Union. The business currently has 24 full-time equivalent employees and continues to create jobs throughout the region. Thank you for your consideration. And I'm going to read which is in your memo. The request is FY23 is a budget for the Small Business Assistance Program, receive an appropriation of $650,000. And after the review of the portfolios, we provided the list that is in the Exhibit A for the allocation of the fund. Thank you so much.
So many great programs from Commerce. So I just did a quick calculation. We let out $5.8 million in loans today, correct? And we produced 307 jobs for that, right? New jobs, yeah. So I was just trying to figure out, so that's $14,937 per job. Just in the suite of all the things we have done.
That is for investment. So we made $100,000.
This is after 13,000 per quarter.
So for Well by Jobs, it's an after the fact program. So if you were a company or type of company, if depending on the salary, you can do a mathematical look, see how much we're investing per job. It would be $1,000, you know, I mean, it just would depend.
Would you ask this question a long time ago? It's about what investments for jobs. It's a very second comment is that Open Main, our little company, Open Main, develops some unbelievable companies. I think we gave them some money too, right? Yeah, exactly. Incubators, just in the last 6 weeks, I've spoken to 4 people trying to get them involved with someone.
One of the people graduated from
The comments are kind of questions.
Doris, I want to just thank Doris. As Lieutenant Governor, she was everywhere that I was, and she probably was no places that I wasn't. And done multiple minority owned businesses. I would just under this topic, I just kind of get this sense of where I'm going with the budget. We're going to continue to try to find level playing field. We had a celebration a few weeks ago where we did sell the first motorcycle trade-in value against a motorcycle. Trade-in value was coming from the sales tax. We had our first transaction based on the budget passed last year, so that's a big deal for the motorcycle industry, and we want to find these unlevel playing fields over and over and over again. One of the things last year, I would hope that we would be able to kind of use the board here at least to have them take, support it if they can, but they put a substantial amount of money in last year, knowing that the grants were going to be gone and loans were going to have, businesses are going to be capital, small businesses capital. It didn't make it through last year. Working with some of the SBA people who are not able to really leverage. At the time, it was an ask of $20 million. We could leverage that to a substantial amount of dollars. They could reduce the closing costs, those offset some interest costs, so that we could get capital to our small businesses. So we're going to do that again, and then also we're still looking at that budget article very seriously. On that budget article, where there's a level playing field, expect to go in there recycle this year. Love that playing field. Our hardware stores and our big contractors are paying far too much money in recycling fees. Same thing's happening on the mattress recycling fee. So you may come up with things like that. David's a small business guy. He's representing. So we're putting that list together. And then I'm going to put it in the budget, and then I'm going to offset it, balance on the budget, and then give it to the General Assembly, and I'll say, look, it's just a matter of just debating the policy. And that's the last thing I would say too in this area, where so one of the things I just want to make you aware that I started this International Economic Ambassador Initiative as a Lieutenant Governor. We're carrying it over to our office. We were talking to Germany today about a lot of the connecting in our small businesses. We have about 25 ambassadors right now in the state that actually live in our state, but they've got networks outside the country, whether it's social networks or church networks or Rotary or business. And then we're going to really try to elevate that into cultural and business strategies of the business in general, but also the small business. I'll leave that to a vote. We don't have any more comments.
Yeah, just that I'm going to recuse myself on chair of social enterprise greenhouse, and that's one of
grantees for the next 5 years.
One other thing, Joe, that
I don't know about that. I put $500,000 into the budget this year so that we can do a full analysis on healthcare costs and also, the bureaucracy that surrounds it. So that would be something that we would add. All right, David.
Yeah, just two things. One of the things you brought up is you're going to put a lot of stuff in, we need to go back to the state legislature and fight for that, which is what we're talking about. And I don't think that burden should just be on your shoulders, but it's going to be part of the associations that are involved with that, such as RICommerce or other associates. We also need to speak up in that behalf to help support our manufacturing sector, which I represent. But the other thing you brought, another good point, is that right now across the United States, reshoring is a critical function of what's happening in our world. A lot of manufacturing, but not just manufacturing itself, but other product lines are coming back to the U.S. because we got burnt, obviously, in COVID. So that's a critical component. I've already talked about this a couple of times on this issue, but that's a component that we really need to address, and we're not really doing a good job enough to really get that in here. So we'll continue to work from the manufacturing viewpoint with Liz and try and help that situation.
Yeah, in that call with Germany today, which I was on, which was kind of interesting, they actually, because they're in such an energy crisis, they look on the United States as actually, having the supply that they need to actually run these facilities. They're already expressing that they're doing something. So, we're a spot that we can advocate to. But I thought that was an interesting point that you were saying, things are coming back here. And then the other piece is the strategy. I think that is going to be very successful is that instead of doing standalone bills that will help businesses and then come in the middle of the session and try to get somebody to approve it, and then all of a sudden, there's a $300,000 cost or $2 million cost, and they're just not going to be willing to try to manage that in the budget. If we put strategies in, and I put about 8 of them in last year, I think I got 6 or 7. Lowering interest rate, by the way, for late payments. I think most of it may work. But if we're able to kind of solidify a list, and it's coming up in the next, 3rd week of January, the budget's due, something like that. So we're going to be really heavy on this thing. The budget's in November and December. But that list, if we put that in, and then I manage it, so I've already taken care of the money. And then it becomes just a discussion about policy. And you have a great deal better chance at that point, because now it's not about the $2 million, or I think it was like $300,000 on a motorcycle. We're doing the same thing with pickup trade, and that's closer to about $6 million. So that's why I bring it up at this point, because I think all I know is I'm 2 weeks away from the date. So this is the time to put that information in. I don't really have a lot of faith that you're going to get something in after the budget goes in, because then it becomes a discussion of policy.
So we just had an example where a company took all their product line and everything in China and moved it to Woonsocket. And so I think it was in touch with Hillary on that. We passed that along to people. And we're limited because of where we're structured right now to really dedicate funding to help them reshore themselves in that area. So that's something I mentioned to Liz as well. So that's part of what, if you cut a big scheme of that and you have just the money set aside, then you're not fighting the battle for every single piece of legislation. So I agree with 100%.
We'll figure it out for the developer, PowerPoint. I like accountability, so Josh doing a good job, but when people be appropriate dollars that they're hold on. We're going to make sure that we're accountable. the board wants to, certainly the way that I feel. Need to get the best out of it. We want to serve results. So, anyway, any other comments? Excellent. I think you should. Thank you. I got a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Sorry. Any discussion on the motion? None, all in favor, say aye. I can't say aye. Anybody against? Joe was. Thanks, Derek. Step 3, to consider amendments to the rules and regulations on the Wavemaker Fellowship Program.
We came to you last month about new committee members for the Wavemaker Fellowship Committee. That was to add members to represent the healthcare industries. If you remember, the General Assembly passed last year statutory changes to expand Wavemaker to include a particular focus on healthcare. The rules and regulations that we have in front of you today are predominantly administrative changes in nature to do a couple small things to make the program easier for us to manage, including changing from mail to email to allow us to email out acceptance letters as opposed to mail. Allows us to track when people actually receive them a little easier. So a couple things like that. And then also things to account for the new healthcare program that's being stood out, to create a definition for healthcare, clarifying the committee composition to include healthcare, representation, etc. So far, what's in front of you has been reviewed by our commerce team and legal, as well as UHHS and the Division of Taxation, who obviously are connected into managing this program. And so we are requesting approval of the rules and regulations as they stand, barring any material or substantial changes made through the rest of the process. As you might recall, you had the Main Street regulations come in front of you all recently, but I was out on leave, so I wasn't here to know exactly what was explained. I should have read the minutes, Chris, I'm sorry. But just for those who don't remember July's meeting, what'll come next is we'll send these to ORR at the Office of Regulatory Reform. They'll do an initial review. We'll post for 30-day public comment, and then ORR will do a final review. And barring any material or substantial changes, those rules and regs would then stand as approved by the board here today. If there are any material changes, though, after that process, we come back to you for updated approval. Thank you. And thank you. I would be remiss also very
Very good. A lot of CCRI. Step 4. Consider amendments to the contracts.
So just really quick, I'm here to ask for revisions to our contract up to amounts with our current tourism agencies, and I'll give a little background on the reason for that. So on January 4th of 2022, the General Assembly passed a budget amendment that allocated $45 million in funding from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act to support Rhode Island small businesses, so $32 million there. And then there was another 13 million for tourism, hospitality, and events and industries. Of the 13 million allocated for the recovery of travel, tourism, and events industries, I'm here to talk about the 2 million that was allotted to tourism. So that 2 million was allocated to fund tourism marketing in coordination with the tourism regions and the Rhode Island Airport Corporation. So there's one bucket of money of 2 million. Then in June of 2022, as part of the governor's state's fiscal year 2023 budget, that included a $1.5 million destination tourism marketing match in support of airline routes to TF Green Airport. And that was funded through ARPA, State Fiscal Recovery Fund. So with the addition of money, we've got 2 million that is for RIAC, the tourism regions, as well as a small portion that stayed at Commerce. There's that 2 million. Then there's another additional $1.5 million that the tourism budget that we currently have has to match. So that's 1.5 plus 2 million. These are up to amounts for contracts by 7 million. So the request is that for the Zimmerman Agency, their current contract amount is about 1.2 million. We'd like to revise that to 2.2 million. And RDW's current contract is 2.3 million, and we'd like to revise that to 4 million. And really the reason for that is to allow for the increase in funding so that we can stay in compliance with the funds that we need to allocate as part of ARPA, 2 million, and as part of the 1.5 million destination marketing match to support air service marketing. It would be. It would be
Expected to be spent within
this fiscal.
this fiscal.
Yes.
And next year it goes down to the same level. Not just the one-time fund, but
It would not. So the $1.5 million air service destination match is also for FY24. It would be for 2 years. Yes.
it's still short. It's longer term than 1 year. Still.
Correct. It would not be after FY24. And there's also, sorry, there's one more piece in my baby. For administrative purposes, one request that we also have is that we would like to align our tourism marketing contracts to our fiscal year. So the current contracts currently expire February 28th, 2023. And we just want to align it to match our fiscal ending year of June 30th, 2023.
These are the only 2 companies that bid on this project, is that correct?
There were this is the tourism marketing?
Yeah.
There were multiple agencies that did apply for the RFP. We have 2 that we
The majority
utilized.
was limited to these 2 companies, correct?
Yes.
They have a 1-year contract or do they have extensions as well?
So it's a 1-year contract, and then we also have the ability to extend another year, but we're just asking to align at this
That
point.
extension is on Commerce to activate, not,
Correct. It's up to us.
Amount of traffic that comes from the area. So leaving the one lot on the table, consider that our. This market is very, very important. again, thousands of measures. Yeah. But we will measure because we want to know what the value is. But my understanding, based on that number, is just making it as fun as it is. I will make a motion to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Opposed? Hearing none, one more kind of, you have considered the boards for tourism region, tourism marketing.
So, going back to the previous conversation that we had about $2 million that we were spending on funding. $1 million of that, as I had mentioned before, is to support air service destination marketing on behalf of RICommerce. There's another $250,000 that's here at Commerce, and we utilize that to do a proximity marketing message to states all the way from Connecticut all the way down to Virginia. And we're basically telling people we're closer to you. You should drive here, you should fly here, even if you are located in some of our fly markets. But in addition to that, we also have the opportunities to support our tourism regions with some of their targeted advertising to media planners, assist them with media buying for some of their spring campaigns, as well as support regions like Newport. Primarily, like 78% of their marketing goes to support off-season activities and events, because they really don't need to do a lot of push during. And so as part of that, we're here to seek approval from the board to provide subawards directly to tourism regions. And those regions include Blackstone Valley, Block Island, Discover Newport, Providence Warwick Convention Visitors Bureau, South County, as well as the Warwick Office of Tourism. The total subawards that we're making available is equivalent to $749,400. And the way that we have allocated the funds was based on a partnership that we have with the Pandemic Recovery Office, and they assisted us with creating a calculation that's primarily based on demonstrated loss for the regions who need it the most. So, for example, what we ended up doing with the PRO department was we took a moment in time so that we could determine the allocation amount. And we looked at March 2019 state 5% hotel tax collection, because that was the last perfect year, if you want to call it that we could compare to. We took the March 2019 revenue and compared that to March of 2022, and then determined what the losses were by region, and the highest losses came from Providence and Warwick. Everyone else was in the green. And then from there, we decided to do a minimum of $50,000 to the regions who were doing well, because we want to make sure that we maintain momentum. And those regions that needed the most funding, they're the ones that received 64% of the funding that was available. And so I'm here to ask that that you provide us the opportunity to give the grants to the tourism regions based on that calculation, with the $749,400 that's available from the ARPA grant.
And including making sure that we're I oppose comments. I should have mentioned that when I think it's one discussion on the board. connecting in Dr. Biden with Rhode Island College in our work of rethinking Rhode Island College in particular as a college, you know, a top level college, teacher college. It really reaped a lot of benefits. I mentioned that to you because if any members of the board want to be able to that happened. Okay, so they kind of see the contents. And David knows my wife Susan will be there. She's a teacher and a Rhode Island College grad too. So kind of looks pretty good. Liz would like to say something.
Just to let you all know, we haven't done any press on it yet, but I attended a conference last week for the International Trade Council. It was actually held in Tallinn, Estonia, and there were 82 countries there with over 500 participants. And at the end of the conference, there's an award ceremony in which the state of Rhode Island won the big award of the night, and we'll be having the conference here next year. So we're very excited.
I will take a motion to adjourn. George, you're doing good with the motions. For those Yankees. Take a second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.